saying no more warrior. No more warrior. I'm having no part of this interaction anymore. So he actually drops warrior outright from his lineup, ends up going with druid, mage, priest, demon hunter, whereas Casie does include warrior, but has an interesting twist on it, which I think we will leave to talk about if and when it becomes relevant later on against Yala, because for now, the warrior is banned away as normal.
Yeah, warrior banned, demon hunter banned, and honestly, Sottle, the more I just stare at xBlyzes lineup, the more I wonder if this could have just been a lineup like weeks ago. You know, like and maybe even before Guardian Animals nerf, of course. But when you just look at the 4 decks, like these feel like 4 of the best decks.
Yes,
and you do dodge the weapon hate that, frankly, we have been running into, I think, across all regions for weeks now, plural, right?
That's right.
It's not just new. And I think looking at this, although Demon Hunter gets half caught by it, it's actually banned out now for xBlyze. So I think this worked out pretty well. Getting to play Druid, Mage, Priest pretty freely here. Looks quite good, but we are going to just blaze straight into our game number 1, of course. xBlyze on the bottom on that Druid, going up against Casie's Mage for our game number 1.
And a decent, at least, opener here for xBlyze with the discounted wild growth being able to be played out on curve right now, but Casie doing what he needs to do, and that is loading up some early game minions into Cram Session. This is kind of the dream opener on Casie's side. He's going to be very, very high on resources once he's able to start popping off with this Cram Session for a couple of cards and the Primordial Studies that he has in hand right now.
Yeah, he'll want a 1 cost. Oh, okay, that's kind of bad. But this is still good, right? Because I agree. What you want versus Druid is early minions, but you also need the backup of card draw, right? You need resources still. Casie having both means he is going to be able to not only dominate early game, but continue into the late game and say not be just blown out by Guardian Animals early on, right? Because that can happen in this match. Which
you were saying?
Casie, yep.
So I was going to say I really like this decision from Casie. I also really like that facial expression from Casie. That was very well sold. Where he quote, got greedy with his Cram Session, but I don't think there's anything greedy about it, because under any reasonable circumstance, you're not losing both of your spell damage minions this turn, right? So at worst, your Cram Session still draws you the 2 cards it would have drawn you on the previous turn, with the upside of potentially drawing 3 or more if you're able to pick up more spell damage after that. So I like Casey's decision here. He does kind of get smoked by the turn 3 Guardian Animals from xBlyze, but sometimes that's just going to happen to you.
Yeah, I think generally there was just always going to be the upside, right? It was either upside or neutral. Which
yes, exactly.
Here, though, this might just be slipping away a little bit here, because 2 minions still stuck there for xBlyze, the Thresher and the Teacher's Pet, of course. And right now, although Casie can get to resources, xBlyze is going to have that Twilight Runner follow-up very quickly. And if Casie plays a minion, he actually has it with Broom next turn, he insta-draw.
Yes. Very, very big deal indeed. And this is starting to just get a little bit too slow for Casie. He does now have Double Giant with Frost Nova, though. So a plan can begin to come together. He can use these Ray of Frost to stretch out for maybe 1 extra turn, try and get those Giants really cheap, and then drop them with the Frost Nova on the turn afterwards, try and get a counter punch.
I do like this pickup of the Flame Strike, though. I think this is the kind of card you have to go for when you're in a rough spot, because it's something that can actually clear the board as he sees it now. I do agree, though. I think Casie would have been also looking for Magic Trick as like the perfect discover there from the one thing to help generate these Giants, but that is a Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Let's go.
Work wonders.
Yeah, Missiles, Ray, Mana Cyclone here, and then there are some dream outcomes from the Cyclone where you actually get to do disgusting things this turn. He's actually just going to drop the Frost Nova immediately.
I like this because he has the Ray straight away. The Ray straight away, yeah, there we go. To actually get some damage down and remove some of these minions. Because this is the setup for his Flame Strike into Giants the turn after, right?
Okay.
And now with Blizzard, Combustion, and Flame Strike. He's just playing Control Mage.
This is a pretty awkward turn on the side of xBlyze as well, as he just kind of has to respect the Sorcerer's Apprentice. That makes it a fairly ugly turn here overall, just throwing down the Overgrowth. But does now have the opportunity to respond huge with the Mount Seller on the following turn.
Yeah, and although the turn in itself looked bad, look how it ended for Blyze. He's facing down a 2-2 with still a pretty powerful board. Like, I think it would... I do think things start to unravel if he leaves the apprentice up, so I definitely like it here. Casie, on the other hand, does have a few options for himself now. Can go for that combustion instead. Doesn't have to flame strike.
Yeah, combustion's pretty nice here. Throwing out the Ancient Mysteries just to get the Mana Giant discounted. Nice sequencing as well, actually waiting for the worst card in the game to appear and then shuffling the Ancient Mysteries potentially into Bly's deck as well.
Worst card in the game then gives Blyze one of the worst cards for his deck.
Yep.
Just a 2-mana do nothing.
I supply only the finest creatures.
Overflow, though, is a nice pickup. It allows Blyze to have the strong turn right now and then have the refill next turn as well.
He is shuffling an infinite amount of Ironbarks into his deck in a minute, though, which could end up being a problem. Bees is playable, but not that. Doesn't interact well with the amount of board spots that he has right now, especially with Mount Seller. So it's probably just going to end up being tree enforcements here. Yep, I like it.
You tank spot? Oh no, it's 2 health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So he's making this 5-12, like, almost always have to soak 2 giant hits, and even if Conjures after that, then he still has a full board. Pretty nice play from Blyze. I don't think I would have done it.
Yeah, I can certainly respect this. Once again, this is good sequencing from Casie. He gets to now make the informed decisions on how he wants to attack with these giants based on the outcome from the porcupines. And now he just has full board control. Yep.
Saul's favorite card
It's
coming back
so
to
bad.
Blyze. Where's your Sarah now, though? And do you think Blyze a good read on Casie not having Conjurers after seeing that turn then? Although the AoE was good, do you think a giant trade Conjurers would have come down regardless?
No. I think the Flame Strike was just way too good there, right? I think you could totally have Conjurers Calling in your hand at that point.
Let's go for the Netherwing.
Wow, there's actually still value here as well. Wow, that's absurd. I did not
There was
realize
exactly
there was
2
still
left,
full
right?
value.
Yeah. Oh.
That's disgusting.
Oh, even the 2-2 to kill off the giant, right?
Yep.
It's just so perfect. I mean, Dol was laughing that Blyze had that tree enforcement. Blyze had planned this all along.
Yeah, he knew. He just knew.
Orion board again for Casie, but suddenly, let's take a look. Yeah, 1 spell.
Yep.
When he has, what, 4 minions that all need to use to make him good. Oh. And the easiest is Sarah. Wonder, I think this is a broom turn.
I kind of like brooming right now, yeah. I can totally understand the debate because obviously your broom is going to be absurd at some point in the near future
and
based on all your
second
dream
one.
portals. And it's the second one, exactly. But, like, you just get to protect such a huge board here if you just, trade into one of the 3/4s. So if you trade into one of the 3/4s, you're probably defending a Boulder Fist Ogre with Cleave. Like, that just seems so potentially nutty.
That's it. For me, it was, does this Thresher not just win you the game if it doesn't die next turn? So Bly's choosing to hold on to the broom there. And he's going to, say, get punished for it, if that makes sense. But Casie having to respect the ping on the runner, because he does have that Thresher frozen. But now, this might be the reward for the broom.
Exactly.
He can actually draw again with the Wild Growth.
This is the scenario where actually Blyze's play looks like genius because these 3/4s didn't end up interacting with the 6/7 whatsoever, and actually he's far better off! Oh
Best
my
card
goodness!
in the game,
yes,
Sottle.
that is a
Best
hard
card
round
in
of
the
applause
game.
from me too, Casie. That was some skillful Hearthstone right there. Oh.
Bly's is like, what are you on about? This card's bad. I've just got all these spells that are really good.
Oh my goodness. What a draw.
I have to be honest, Mage Scribe Oh wait, he's just dead. Never mind. That's just going to be game. I actually just didn't realize that nothing was frozen on Blyze's side. Blyze's going to take game number 1, and wow, is all I'm going to say about that one. Saw that didn't end the way I expect. At least the journey wasn't what I expected it to be to the end of that game, but it was pretty spicy. I did think Casie was in some rough spots because he just didn't get hold of the spells. Right, he got the giants down, but they weren't that great. And then just being able to push them back like Blyze did in a relatively safe fashion with that Mount Seller meant it was just enough to get him over the line.
Yeah, I feel a little bit narratively incomplete there because we never actually got to learn whether the Broom Keep was important or not, whether it was going to be more value from the dragons that were coming out, because it ended up just being Flame Strike that blew the game wide open anyway. But regardless, obviously, that Educated Elec had a huge impact on the game, not only with the tree enforcements, the extra Iron Bark, but then also the Flame Strike that was drawn as well. So certainly did change the focus of that game a little bit, but Casie was always going to be struggling because it was turn 3 Guardian Animals that game, which you don't beat that very often. It's a big reason of why Guardian Animals cost 8 now, so they're a bit less likely to be able to cast it on turn 3. But that's not the world Blyze lives in. Everything just works out pretty easily for Blyze when he plays Druid. Apparently, this is the one common thread throughout his entire Grandmasters career so far, is stomping some people with Druid. So long may it continue.
Yeah, very quick and powerful game there from both those players, but it's going to be Blyze taking the first victory. We are going to go to a quick break while we get ready for our game number 2, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
What useless facts do I know? Oh man, I have plethoras of useless facts.
Useless facts.
I know pi to the 50th digit.
To the 50th digit?
Yeah. Well, probably more than that, actually.
We're in Texas right now. The Texas state motto is friendship. That's a useless fact.
3.14159265358979323.
Maybe it's not a useless fact, but I know how to cut almost every single fruit.
46264338327950.
Well, there's no correct answer to that. If I give you a useless fact, it would then be useful for this interview.
Do you know a fact off the top of your head?
Okay. Jaguars have a particularly powerful bite force, and what they will often do is crush the skulls of their victims. They will just bite right through the skull, and boom, lights out.
88419716939375105. It's like 60 digits, I think, or something.
That's more than impressive.
Welcome back, everyone. We are ready for our game number 2 between xBlyzes and Casie. This is initial match number 2, effectively, as the winner will go on to that upper bracket as well. So it's a lot on the line here. The loser doesn't get knocked out, of course. The loser will face Felkane in the lower bracket, but still, you want to give yourself the biggest chance to get through to Sunday, the final day of the playoffs here.
That's right. And of course, you don't have any advantage either in this position. These are the players who kind of have to play out the entire bracket honestly. The winner of this matchup moves forward to face Yala, who has the top seed advantage in this group, whereas the loser goes down to the bottom to face the player that's had to make the play-in from Division B. So both of these players just kind of have to do it the long way, and xBlyzes, at least by his standards, looks like he's going to end up doing it the long way in this series by going with his Highlander Priest nice and early, which is probably the slowest and the least xBlyzes-like of all of his decks.
Yeah, he still plays it quick, though, doesn't
Yes.
he? I still feel like he goes absolutely nuts speed. He's going to be going up against Mage of Casie as well. And what's going to be interesting as we get into this game is actually, I wonder who Yala wants to face. Because xBlyzes doesn't have Warrior, which is a bit of a problem. And I imagine Casey's Warrior might be good enough. I have to imagine that it's deemed good enough to beat the anti-Warrior builds, but we'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. Here, though, as we go into this game. xBlyzes getting off to a pretty good start himself. So I think Veilweaver just early on is going to be very, very nice. And then the flexibility of having the penance to remove any of these on-curve pesky minions, or just go for Renew for the sheer value. Right, it's going to give xBlyzes a ton of options.
Yeah, and trade Renew here just seems pretty insane for the double value. Picks up an immediate Holy Smite.
I could not tell you what the other two are. I literally can't. So I didn't see them.
Casie gonna go fishing. Does not want to let this Sethic run away with the game too hard, but right now doesn't really have too much of an option.
Casie could plan for the late game.
I will crush
Go for Magic Trick instead.
Yeah, it's gonna go with the sane option instead. Whoa. Very nice. Forbidden Words picked up now as well, which means kind of this dynamic will just continue for a number of turns now, where Casey's going to just have to develop minions into this Sethic Veilweaver, and xBlyzes can just continue sniping them all quite happily and recycling value.
It's going to feel very unfun, won't it, for Casie in the next couple of turns? So, yep, there's another minion that's been
Oh, is that a
cleaned up
powered
and
shield?
Sethic
Of
gets
course
his
it's a
spell.
power word shield, Raven!
Wow.
xBlyzes is the definition of a gamer.
See, xBlyzes is playing for the late game. Look at that mind control.
Yep.
He's all over it.
It's got there.
Look at this, just razz into a Sethic that is normally dead by now. And it's
Oh!
just going to do 1 damage.
One-offs, by the way. Highlander Priest, by the way.
Dance, puppet, dance.
Hello?
It's really difficult to commentate this game and commentate this player because he just plays as if they were literally the best cards you can possibly get. It's insane. But he does it so often, I have to believe it's just some kind of trick of the light or something.
Fight me,
I-
you get burned.
Firebrand Brain Freeze needs 1 shot to hit the Sethic, which obviously never happens because this is xBlyzes that we're dealing with. Oh, unlucky.
Oh, got away with it.
Yeah. So I'm fairly sure after that outcome we can say that xBlyzes has had a pretty average luck so far this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty likely Sethic lives there.
Yeah.
Be the damage and the heal, even getting Wretched down as well. Casie also playing like lightning, of course. Learn Draconic is going to proc this Onyx Mage. Some more spells to play with, and yet another Flame Strike.
Ooh.
Casie next turn. Not half bad, actually.
It's not. That Flame Strike is actually pretty huge against this board state. Crucially, the Wretched Tutor is going to still be out of range here. Casie does need to deal with the board before he can really counter-swing with the Giant, and now that Lab Partner is going to create that full swing. Since it was a natural Lab Partner, he's still just short of getting that Giant down, but he does have an enormous swing turn coming with the Learn Draconic next turn as well, alongside that Mana Giant.
Yeah, did you always like that play versus just Flame Strike, leave the 2-1 up and play a Giant? Do you think that's too scary? Leave the Wretched alive?
I do like the full swing turn, yeah.
Okay.
I think spacing it out over 2 here does seem pretty reasonable. Especially since you get that extra time to potentially find the Conjurer's Calling as well, which he does play naturally in his deck.
Well, as has been often the case, Blyze not really allowing Casie to have any minions. Yet again, as he steals away the lab partner. And even this, like Shadowwood Ruin, going to bat away this dragon without much to do.
Yo.
Casie commits to this Giant this turn as well. It's going to be a huge swing with the Shadowwood Ruin.
Nice 4-drop.
Your presence offends.
Casie holding. He's going to stretch this out as far as he can by the looks of things. But I mean, that's fine from Bly's position because he's quite happy to compete against 1/6/6. He can just play minions into this most of the time. Oh! Oh! The combo!
1 health!
Brittlebone! Get smoked!
Blyze took 1 damage this game.
Casie just got
Casie
boned.
ping him. So win game number 2, please.
What? It's called Brittle. Oh, Raven, honestly, you degenerate. Get your mind out the gutter.
Hey, Frost to try and clear up this Kaj. Just gonna need Cyclone to dig him out here,
He
right?
is, yeah.
Freeze this down, trade off the 4-1s, have Cyclone give him something that like creates some kind of plan for next turn. Casie wish he'd pick box now, doesn't he? Told you got a plan for that late game, so expect the unexpected.
Holy Nova is ridiculously clean here, but honestly, as is just developing more big threats. I guess you can kind of just do both with the Cobalt Spellkin here anyway. Yeah, seems fine. Dump a card.
It's pretty likely that one's just burnable, right?
It's actually not. Like, it's very frustrating, but that does come up quite a lot. But, like, Renew, Draconic Studies, Mind Vision, like, so many of them do actually just replace themselves.
Couldn't he always cast his Forbidden Words, though?
He could, yeah. Wait, no, not without a legal target, he couldn't, no.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He spent all his mana first, yeah. I still think it's worth going for, though. The alternative was just playing, like, Katrina and just ignoring the minions and going face. And just... Well, setting up to go face the next turn, just to end the game, which I think was fine as well.
I guess with this hand, to burn a card, right?
Yep.
There's nothing he's missing, like, that he really needs. Although...
Yeah, that would have helped a lot. If something had happened when he'd attacked face there, this turn was really easy. Still pretty good now, though. You can go Shadowword Ruin into Forbidden Words, or actually, now that you got the 4-2, now you got the 4-2 off the Netherwind portal. Perfect. Yeah, that's so clean.
Well, this better be the best cram session Casie's ever played. Bit too late with that Conjurer's Calling, and I don't know about you, Sol, but Casie can freeze the board, but I don't feel like there's going to be enough to get there. Does he have the Prime in? He does,
Casie does have 1 Prime in his deck currently, yes.
Win condition activate.
Life and hope of
Yep.
good explorer comes
And the thing here is these can be... Obviously, Blyze would like them to be great, but these can be even just mediocre to bad. They're just stuff to play right now. It's making Casie have to effectively freeze the board every single turn.
You just infinite loops Dragon Queen Alexstrasza for the rest of the game now. Easy. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that seems like a pretty straightforward concede from Casie, and I mean, he's just already out of the game.
Yeah,
Blyze,
yeah.
taking the 2-0 lead so far in this series, and not really taking anything away from Casie, really, because one, the game goes too quickly to cast in our normal fashion.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think there were tons of different options there for Casie in that game. Wise just kind of steamrolled him. He had the on-curve removal in a Highlander deck, and when he couldn't remove the minion, he could steal it. So he didn't really give Casie much wiggle room there. The only option, really, that I saw was that Flame Strike into Giant turn instead of Flame Strike to clear the whole board. But I actually just don't even think that was better. I just think it was a different plan, that's all.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you want to deal with, results-oriented thinking, it still would have got cleaned up the same way. He already had Shadow Word Ruin at that point. He already had Forbidden Words at that point. Like, there was just no way it was coming together. The curve was just too strong. Blyze, from his perspective, he recognized that just committing Sethic to the board in that matchup is very good. It's very unlikely that it dies. He got to ride that value train for as long as possible. Then he just drew the nuts with the Cabal and Wave of Apathy on curve to be able to steal the Raz. And then from there, he just walked away with it. The one thing, I don't want to ride anyone for this, but Casie at the end there, I think it was probably slightly more optimal to Devolving Missiles first and try and get a 2-drop on the board. And then Conjurer's Calling like nuts to try and find the Doomsayer at the end. But again, even if that hit Doomsayer and the Doomsayer went off and the board cleared, you still lose. That's not actually winning the game. So absolutely not going to be critical of that whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, already into this Mage game, and Blyze got off to a decent start. Lapan into Cram Sessions, one of those standard kind of just good openings in any matchup, right? It's maybe not mind-blowing, but it's just fine and to good, actually. Whereas Casie going a little bit slower there with the One Thief and Discover. But now he does have Giant and he does have Conjurers in hand. It's just getting to it now that's going to be the question mark for Casie.
Nice. Picks up the extra Cram Session.
He has a potentially win with the Firebrand next turn as well, with Arcane Missiles. Roto? I think that's too slow. Maybe the Dragon Maul for a follow-up to Raz.
Right. That looks like the curve, right?
Yeah.
He has a very minion-heavy hand where he just goes 5-drop on 5, 6-drop on 6, and then the Apprentice pop-off turn happens if he hasn't found a Conjurer's Calling target before then, potentially.
Or even Conjurer's the 6 if it
Right,
works.
exactly.
I think that's absolutely fine.
This is what he didn't want to see, though. He didn't want to get hit by the swing turn here. Now that opens up a diversion. You can tell this turn is hard because it hasn't already happened. That
Here it is.
That is the longest Blyze has taken to play a turn in this entire match so far. And I think that was actually a real decision there of whether that was an Apprentice Cyclone pop-off turn instead of just playing the Raz into what was a pretty unattractive board state, I would say, for a Raz to be dropped into.
I actually do like the decision, though, because he didn't have spell damage in hand anyway, so this Raz isn't getting value for a while.
That's fair.
It keeps the curve clean, and all it does is make his Apprentice and Cyclone turn progressively better. Whether he does it next turn or on that sort of pre-planned turn 7, I guess, that we were talking about earlier. I actually quite like this.
Meanwhile, Casie has chosen to take his Apprentice pop-off turn, and it has gone extremely nicely for him, able to now get that Giant down in play, forcing enormous amounts of damage through on the following turn, and that is going to mean that Blyze is absolutely not able to just follow his curve, and he will just have to go for the Apprentice turn of his own. He does not have the payoff for it in the same way that Casie does. He does get the resources back with the Mana Cyclone. As of right now, he's not creating a big tempo swing, but the Frostbolt is insane!
Can kill the Giant, yeah.
That just kills the Giant!
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. The Frostbolt actually makes this just perfect. Yes, the patient, but what if you just get the spells you need anyway, right?
Yep.
Gets to now Cyclone in a relatively safe fashion, honestly. Apprentice dead, Giant dead. You've left a 3-2 on the board, who cares? You've got great things coming up here for Blyze. Power of Creation, the evocation there as well, along with card draw, AoE, and secrets. That's the whole package right there for Blyze.
This is huge, though. Casie gets to maintain tempo and consolidate a 5-drop on board, potentially for a Conjurer's Calling target on the follow-up. But the Polymorph is going to lay rest to that real quick. And now Casie has 0 value in hand. Blyze is rolling into Power of Creation, Dragon Maw, Conjurer is calling Flame Strike. This is looking very, very one-sided indeed right now.
That's it, and I really like that turn there for Blyze. Although, okay. I really like the turn there from Blyze because it looked slow, but he can afford to be because look at his hand. He can play the super late game, no problem at all. That Conjurer's getting through did put a bit of a wrench in the works, though.
Yeah, I like Lord of the Arena. Almost, strictly worse minion if you want to look at it that way from what he could have picked, but just having the taunt here cuts out the one real win condition that Casie has available at this point, so I really like it.
Do you like those trades into Devolving 1 instead of just playing Devolving onto the board as it is?
I think so, yes. I would need more time than Casie took to make that decision to actually be sure of it, but I think so, yeah.
He actually just locked it in faster than I could actually even consider whether it was better or not.
Yes.
But the ping into Flame Strike is going to be good for Blyze. Clears this up. Casie now on top deck wars.
Yes.
Whereas Blyze has all the options in the world.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, if I was forced to play Nosdormu mode and I had to play instinctively, I would have done the same thing. Let's put it that way.
Okay. There's the Conjurers, big board.
Yeah!
Oh! Bop.
Evo, that's not Evo.
Card draw. That's big though.
Casie does not have his natural evocation left, but he does still have one Mana Giant remaining alongside that Conjurer's Calling. Octosari now! 12 cards left in deck, space in hand to actually get the full Death Rattle value. Suddenly there's a game.
So I imagine he'll be going for freeze here. Frost Nova would be absolutely insane here for Blyze. Blizzard will do. As long as these minions can't attack, that sounds perfect. I guess.
You have to
I guess
Cyclone
you can just
here,
ping,
right?
right?
Don't you just Cyclone?
I guess he can Cyclone, yeah.
You have to threaten lethal, right? Like, right now. That's the job. And there's also this Demolisher on the other side of the board. So just having the extra 2-2 in play, like, forget about the spells. I just want a freaking 2-2.
Casie with the second Conjurer's Coil.
Coil Fang!
Oh! Huge, huge. Does he ping it? He does, right?
It's an option for sure, but I would imagine with 10 cards in hand, he has better options.
Sure. I did suggest that before I actually saw the cards drawn, but it's a big deal. Flame Strike going to be too expensive to be cast now, but Ray of Frost is a good option. Fireball going to be taken for Casie there, just to shore up those potential freezes. If there's Ray of Frost coming out from Blyze, not on all of his minions, the Fireball could open up lethal opportunity.
That's right. All he really needs now is one minion connecting face almost, and that Fireball is going to end the game.
Oh, it says explode!
Blyze finds first Mana Giant of his own here.
He's got a conch.
He's going to need something equally spectacular to what Casie found. Oh, yeah. Looking for Blizzard or Frost Nova first. Okay, I can get down with it.
Flame Strike doesn't achieve much.
Nope.
Neither does that. No way for realistically Vaporize to do anything either. He needed a Frost Nova or a Blizzard to come out with that one, and Casie just about got away with it. I feel Sol on that one. That draw pretty much had to be Mana Giant, I think, to give him any kind of out on exactly that turn as well. I think without that, Casie was looking in some big trouble, but he did get there and managed to not get 3-0'd in his first series of the day. He managed to fight back versus Blyze.
Yes, completely agree. I was just looking through his deck list at the moment where he drew the Mana Giant, and like looking at it, it seemed to be the only out. He had to hit the Mana Giant with the Conjurer's Calling in his hand at that moment and actually get something immediately impactful, which wasn't quite the reality, but the fact that he had Conjurer's Callings to spare then, so even though the board got frozen, he could still essentially activate his own Octosari with the Conjurer's Calling after that, get the resources he needed to just overwhelm the game and win from that position. It was very, very close to just being a 3-0 sweep from Blyze there. Even then, I kind of liked his sequencing at the end as well. I think taking those 3 or 4 spots in his hand to fish for the freeze first with the Blizzard or the Frost Nova, I think was pretty smart. As that's probably a more ultimate solution to the position than playing out Mana Giant Conjurer's Calling and like, what are you looking for? Tyrion plus Walking Fountain or something ridiculous in that spot? Like Coil Fang Warlord plus Walking Fountain,
like
double
Coil Fang Warlord or something.
What actually gets you out of that position with the Giant? So I like him going fishing with the Evocation there first and foremost, and then falling back on the Giant afterwards. But wasn't to beat, and means the series will continue. And I, for one, Raven, am here for it. I could watch this series all day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, you couldn't cast it all day because it would never last all day, though. But the one thing I like about that is just that the recognition of he can do both is what I quite liked. Is that I think a lot of people would see, okay, it's either Evocation or or I just go for Conjures and hope it works. Whereas just the thing of, okay, I can play this, make some more room, play Evocation out, have the mana. If it doesn't work, there's a backup plan. And I think, the speed in which, we've talked about this a lot, but the speed in which Xbylyzes spots these plays that maybe aren't Omega high level, but ones you do normally have to sit and consider.
Right.
Xbylyzes is like, nope, I just know it.
Right.
Instantly. It's like, makes it hard to cast. I'm going to
It
tell
does.
you that.
Yeah, no, it was like a perfect example of that in the Priest game, right? Where he activated Netherwind Portal, and suddenly what was a good play at the start of the turn changed because another 4/2 appeared. And by the time I noticed that, he'd already just done the play. He'd already completely changed what he was doing that turn and adapted to the Netherwind Portal. Like, he processes these situations so quickly, and that what continues to be impressive about him. But it's also what's impressed us about Casie for the best part of 5 years now, almost at this point, because he is very much from that school as well. And you can see both of those players sitting pretty in playoffs off the back of their extremely rapid and instinctive play. But the complete opposite of that is what awaits them in the winners' final, potentially. Yala has the top seed. He has the winner's advantage. And it means the winner of this is going to have to run the gauntlet against the heavy control, the anti-bomb warrior lineup on the other side, which both of these players, remember, have come prepared for in their own little way. Xbylyzes by just not bringing warrior whatsoever. Casie by bringing a heavily teched out warrior to hopefully be able to counteract some of those strategies.
Yeah, not only in player personality and play style, so in lineups. In that winners part, we are going to see the unstoppable force meet the immovable object, aren't we? And no matter who wins out of this series, so it's going to be a great one. Just a reminder, we've got Hearthstone all today, of course, and all weekend to find out who we're going to be sending to the World Championship, along with silver from the European region of the Hearthstone Grandmasters. But here we are going into our game number 4. Casie on the top of that, Demon Hunter and Xbylyzes. His mate.
Yeah, the way this has been going so far, Hearthstone all day, quite literally at this point, as APAC has actually put in their full 8-hour shift for the first time ever, which means we might just hit that round-the-clock 24-hour Hearthstone dream. But if Casie and Xbylyzes have anything to say about it, that's absolutely not going to be the reality.
Right. Thumbs up from Xbylyzes as he sees that, just the double 1-drops on curve seem pretty powerful versus my small minion start deck.
Instantly knows that he wanted elemental allies. Who instantly knows that he wants elemental allies there? He's right, he does want elemental allies. But how did he know that immediately?
Because he's Xbylyzes.
Okay, makes sense.
There you go. I mean, he has 2 elementals in his hand, right? That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Well, it's actually more than that, because he might even end up using it like as a Shambhala activation, right? Where like Shambhala goes first, then elemental allies come down. Like, there's actually just a lot of things that you could use elemental allies for here that make it a good card, more so than just weirdly playing elemental allies and then playing your 2-drop and 3-drop for no value, which you could end up doing. I'm not calling that a bad line. It's just, it requires more than that for me to be sure that that's the pick there. And I'm giving Xbylyzes the benefit of the doubt that he like processed all of that quickly. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, so right now there's actually both. Well, kind of both.
Exactly.
Allies, like Apprentice, Shambhala, Coin, Sorcerer's Apprentice, go with some other spells, and it would actually still be enough to proc the Shambhala, right?
Yep.
Be so sick. Looks like it's going to be the Mana Cyclone turn though.
Instant Tricaster.
Saul's just baffled. It's just like, instant choice. I wouldn't necessarily pick. Instantly.
Instantly. Yeah. he's going to go Cyclone first. This does play the best with the allies turn, because obviously you get to play allies first, and you get to play Cyclone to actually set it up, and then all you have to do is just drop the Shenvala next turn, and hope that you have the ability to dig your way. But it does mean that your hand size is so huge here that you just might not be able to make all that stuff fit anyway, which means you might just end up giving up on Elemental Allies for now and activating it later.
Xbylyzes will make it fit. When he was a kid, little baby, those toys, it's like the square thing goes in the square hole. You fit it in the circle one every time.
Just brute force. He just smashed it in there until it fit in the end. Yeah.
And it only took him a second to work it out.
Yep.
I do wonder if Xbylyzes makes, like instant coffee or instant noodles, if they actually taste great. Just because, like, when he does things instantly, it normally is good, whereas normally instant things are quite bad.
Now we're getting deep into this Xbylyzes lore. I like it.
Not quite the mana for Xbylyzes to have a really solid, even just a clear turn here. Can't quite get there.
Kind of like, yeah, I was thinking about this. So you go like Ray, Geomancer, Ray, Shenvala, and then that gets you the draws, and then you can dump the second elemental. Potentially, oh no, you can't actually. Okay, fair enough. I still like this line though. I think drawing the 3 is still very, very important here, even if it ends up burning one.
Honestly, wow, when you got Invocation as well. Okay, those were 2 of the best ones you could have got as well. But for me, the only thing that upsets me a little bit is now we're not going to see the 7 mana Raz Tricaster combo.
That's true, actually.
That's insane.
We're certainly not going to see it because the Raz is just absolutely monstrous this turn. If it sticks, though, from Xbylyzes' perspective, you will like the way this curve looks, but it is emphatically not going to stick against this 5-summon Sociologist on the other side from Casie. Xbylyzes with the Insta-Blizzard in response. Your turn, bud.
Wants another AoE. Flame Ward looks pretty good, but he's gone the Combustion instead. Okay.
Combustion's actually just really solid here, right? Just Combustion Ping clears the board now at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Really solid.
Does have to pay 2 mana for that ping, but yeah, it does actually stop the whole trading with minions instead, of course, which is one of the weaknesses of Flame Ward, is you can just end up proccing it with 1 minion, similar to Explosive. This is pretty nice.
Trade here to save the 2 mana, which enables him to develop Netherwind Portal and Violet Spellwing. Is that worth giving up your 1-2 on board? I suppose it was, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like Demon Hunter doesn't play spells, right? I think having a minion pop out of nowhere is pretty good. Make them consider the secret, even if it's only for a split second. Rolling counter spell, okay, not too bad. Pretty good outcome actually, just from the snap evocation there.
Yeah, pretty reasonable. And Casie is largely out of juice here as well. Using that philosophy, best possible usage for it, just to deal with the counter spell. Obviously, though because the spell gets countered, Xbylyzes does not get the Netherwind Portal here either. Kind of anti-synergy between the 2 secrets that you had in play.
Clearly never played a double Mag Theridon Demon Hunter deck.
No, I haven't, because that's terrible.
It's hilarious.
I mean, that is fair, yeah.
Whoa! Well, that's a good one. With Tricaster, this Pyroblast is almost lethal.
What makes something real?
There is a lot of spell damage stacking up right now.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I get it, the taunt has...
Oh, he's just got another one! And heal! Okay.
Okay, you go
Now
face then, right? You just absolutely go face.
Yeah.
You never trade
Never
here.
trade. Boom. Look at Casie!
Was he intending not to trade in the first place? I guess he was, right? Which is why the weakness is on the Stewart and not on the taunt.
So it can soak.
Yeah, so it could. He was probably going to leave 1 minion up that turn anyway. He ended up leaving up both because obviously he didn't want damage minions for the Sandturf. but he had to protect the taunt to mean that just like one of the small minions couldn't go in, and then he gets Marrow Sliced in the face, right? So yeah, I guess it makes sense to do it the way he did it.
There's still Conjures though. In Xbyzes' hand, so he can make this Holy, okay.
He can make this fun, Mana Giant.
Okay, viewers, I know you're listening. Someone made me a compilation of Casey's facial reactions in this series.
Yeah.
I would enjoy it greatly.
Casie reacts to Blyze high rolling the supercut. That's what we need.
Yeah. Blade Dance is going to give Casie a chance, though.
He has to attack it, though, right? Because he needs to Blade Dance the lifesteal minion that comes out of it.
The Allocade's just stood there with Pyroblast.
He's just dead.
Just going to be game. Look at Blyze popping off there. And he takes the victory there and moves on to face Yala in the winner's portion of Group A.
Casie just gave him full stank face, by the way. That was amazing. Blyze, on the other hand, beating his chest like the absolute gamer that he is. What a series yet again, Raven. Like, I was kind of sick coming in today. Like, obviously, as the entitled male that I am, I've been whining about it constantly to anyone that will listen. So Raven knows this already. So I kind of needed something to perk me up going into this broadcast to actually, feel like I could get enough adrenaline to get through. That's exactly what I needed. Like, what an absolutely insane series of Hearthstone from both of those players. And it means Blyze now marches on in a position where he's facing the anti-warrior lineup with no warrior in the lineup of his own. And if he wins, he goes through to Sunday with every chance of making it to the World Championship.
It's a huge deal. And honestly, like, when we first started casting Blyze in Grandmasters specifically, we were like, wow, not only does, of course he plays fast, but he has like electrifying matches, doesn't he? The craziest things happen. Maybe it is the pace as well, of course, but there are just like crazy matches that just surround him like a force. I don't know. And no matter who he's against, it will be a nutty matchup, and he's proven it once again with the explosive match that we had versus Casie. But yeah, Blyze is going to be moving on to face Yala in the upper bracket there.